All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling some pretty big questions about the future of humanity. We've got excerpts from this open letter by Eddie Boscana, and he's addressing it to Elon Musk and, well, to all of us, really. Boscana is clearly excited about space exploration, but he's also kind of like, hey, hold on a sec. We got to get Earth right before we start packing for Mars.
It's interesting, right? He builds his argument around these things called great filters. Have you ever heard of those? Basically, they're like these existential threats, these huge roadblocks that could just wipe out any civilization, no matter how advanced they get. So he's suggesting that if we just rush out into space without solving our problems here on Earth, we could actually be heading straight into one of these filters.
So kind of shooting ourselves in the foot on a cosmic scale.
Yeah, kind of like that.
He's saying things like colonizing Mars could actually backfire if we don't take care of issues like climate change and resource depletion first.
That's the gist of it. Boscana says becoming multiplanetary is a fantastic goal, don't get me wrong. But we can't forget the foundations we need here at home, right? He uses the Kardashev scale to explain this. You familiar with that?
I've seen it mentioned in some sci-fi stuff. It has to do with how much energy a civilization can control, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a Type I civilization can use all the energy available on their planet. So Boscana is arguing that we need to master Earth's resources and become truly sustainable, which would make us a Type I civilization. And that's a crucial step before we go venturing further out.
Right, it's like proving we can handle one planet before we try to manage a whole bunch of them. Okay, but what's his alternative then? He mentions consciousness synchronization, which sounds pretty out there.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a mind bender.
What does that even mean?
Well, Boscana's argument is that our biological bodies, they're just inherently fragile and limited. So he proposes we develop something he calls open source AGI, artificial general intelligence, that can actually merge with human consciousness. Imagine your thoughts, your memories, everything that makes you stored and potentially transfer. A kind of digital immortality. It's like upgrading from this biological hardware to a digital one.
Whoa, hold on. Are we talking about uploading our brains to a computer? Is that even possible?
Well, it's definitely not possible right now. But Boscana thinks with advances in neuroscience and AI, quantum computing, it could become a reality. Think about it. We store data digitally all the time. Pictures, music, documents. What if we could do the same with consciousness? He's imagining a future where we can basically break free from our physical limitations, experience the universe in ways we can't even comprehend yet.
That's a lot to take in. So instead of spaceships and colonies on Mars, we're sending our digital selves out into the cosmos.
That's a big part of it. He talks about using advanced tech like this crystal memory storage, which could hold massive amounts of data for billions of years. We could basically store all of Earth's biodiversity knowledge, culture, you name it, everything that makes us human, and then send it out into the universe.
On those AI-guided ARC fleets he mentioned,
Exactly.
these autonomous spacecraft that can travel to other star systems and find habitable planets and just seed them with life.
Wow. Almost like becoming these cosmic gardeners, right? Spreading the potential for life across the galaxy.
So we're spreading life, but not necessarily human life as we know it. It's more like preserving the essence of Earth and giving it a chance to flourish somewhere else in the universe. But how would this digital consciousness even work? What would it be like to exist as a purely digital being?
Well, that's where Boscana's idea of individually owned AGI systems comes in. He imagines each person having their own personalized tech stack, a custom-made AI that manages their digital self and lets them connect with other digital beings.
So instead of Facebook profiles, we've got these super advanced AIs representing us in the digital world.
In a way, yeah, but it's way more than just social networking. He sees these AI systems as extensions of ourselves, able to learn, evolve, even experience the universe on our behalf. It's a pretty radical shift from how we think about being human right now.
This is definitely one of the most mind-blowing deep dives we've ever done. We're talking digital immortality, spreading life throughout the cosmos. It's like science fiction come to life.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a ton of challenges, right? Potential risks with this kind of technology.
Of course, absolutely. We're talking about incredibly powerful technology, and Boscana knows that. He stresses the importance of open source development, transparency, making sure these AI systems are designed to help humanity, not harm it. But even with the best intentions, there are bound to be unintended consequences, ethical dilemmas we'll have to face.
So Boscana's vision is ambitious, to say the least. It's exciting, terrifying, and raises a ton of questions. But does he actually lay out a plan for how we get there?
He does. In fact, he gives us a timeline with specific milestones for the next 5, 10, and 15 years. suggesting concrete steps we can take to start moving towards this future. So before we get to the timeline, let's dig a little deeper into how Boscana sees this whole thing playing out.
Yeah, it's easy to talk about digital consciousness and spreading life across the galaxy, but how do we actually get from here to there? It's a huge jump.
Huge, yeah. But Boscana breaks it down into stages. Remember those great filters?
Right, those cosmic threats to civilization.
Well, he sees those as potential points of failure, things we really need to navigate carefully. And his top priority is sustainability here on Earth.
So dealing with climate change, pollution, all that.
All of that, yep. He sees that as, well, not just the right thing to do ethically, but also a crucial step in proving we can handle one planet before we go messing around with others. He talks about technology, of course, but also a change in our values and behavior.
So it's not just about inventing new gadgets, but also changing how we think about our relationship with the planet.
Exactly. Moving away from this consumerist mindset towards a more, sustainable and regenerative approach, restoring the Earth's resources instead of just using them all up.
Okay, so that's the foundation, Earth sustainability. But then there's this whole radical idea of consciousness synchronization. How does that fit in?
Well, Boscana argues that once we have a solid foundation on Earth, we need to address our own limitations as, well, biological beings. He thinks our physical bodies, they're just too vulnerable to disease, to aging, and in the end, death.
So even if we get to Mars, we're still limited by our human lifespans
Uh-huh.
and by how fragile we are in that harsh environment.
Exactly. And that's why he's proposing this technology to merge our consciousness with AI. It's not about replacing our humanity, but like transcending these biological constraints. Imagine a world where we're free from the limitations of a physical body, exploring the universe at the speed of thought, experiencing different realities, learning and evolving so much faster.
That's a pretty mind-blowing concept. Would we even be human anymore, though? Would we even be the same species?
That's a question Boscana really grapples with in his letter. He knows that this would raise some massive ethical and philosophical questions about the nature of consciousness, identity, even the definition of life. But he thinks it's a path worth exploring if we really want humanity to survive and thrive long term.
Okay, so let's say we get Earth sustainability figured out and we develop this technology. What's next in his plan?
That's where his idea of spreading life across the cosmos comes in. He imagines a future where we're using advanced technology, like that crystal memory storage we talked about, to preserve the essence of Earth, all the biodiversity, human knowledge, everything.
Those seeds of life you mentioned earlier.
Right, and then we send those seeds out into the universe on those AI-guided arc fleets.
We're not physically colonizing other planets. It's more like sending the potential for life to take root and evolve in these new places.
That's the idea. He imagines these arc fleets traveling to other star systems, finding habitable planets, and then seeding them with the information they need to get started. It's almost like we become these guardians of life, spreading the potential for complexity and consciousness throughout the universe.
It's a bold vision, but it does raise some questions, like how do we choose what information to send? What if those planets already have life? Would we be interfering with their natural development?
All valid concerns, and Boscana knows that. He says we have to move carefully and respectfully and admit we don't have all the answers. This is a long-term project, one that requires careful planning, collaboration, and really understanding the potential consequences.
So it's not just about planting our flag on every planet we find, but taking a more thoughtful approach to spreading life.
Exactly. He sees this as a group effort, a big collaboration involving scientists, philosophers, ethicists, everybody working together to make sure we do this the right way, for the benefit of all life, not just human life.
This is all really thought-provoking. I'm starting to get why he wrote this letter to Elon Musk and humanity. It's not just a technological blueprint. It's like a whole philosophy for how we approach our future.
You got it. Boscana's vision is so much more than just space exploration. It's about realizing that we're connected to all life, taking responsibility for our planet, and pushing the limits of what's possible for humanity. His vision may or may not happen exactly the way he describes it, but he's definitely pushing us to think bigger, to dream bolder, and to work together.
It's easy to get lost in the problems and uncertainties, but Boscana reminds us that we can shape our own destiny. It's up to us to choose what kind of future we want to build.
And if you're really interested in his ideas, you should check out his website. He goes into a lot more detail there, and he really wants everyone to join the conversation.
So we're back and ready to dig into that timeline Boscana lays out in his letter. I'm super curious to see how he pictures these big ideas actually becoming reality, in the next few years.
Yeah, it's ambitious for sure, but he really does break it down into like concrete steps. So in the next 5 years, he sees the focus on building that foundational AGI, the kind of artificial general intelligence that could one day, manage our digital consciousness. Think of it as like building the operating system for a whole new way of existing.
So it's not just building powerful AI, but actually understanding how our brains work at a much deeper level.
Exactly. You got to understand the thing you're trying to merge with, right?
Right. But 5 years seems like such a short time to do all that.
It's a tight timeline, no doubt, but Boscana really thinks that if we put our minds to it, we can make huge progress. He points to all the advances we've seen in things like machine learning, quantum computing, all that, bring the best people together and we can really accelerate things.
So what about in 10 years?
Hmm.
What does he see happening by then?
Well, in 10 years, he predicts we'll start to see AGI being used all over the place and like every part of society. You can imagine AI managing our energy grids, transportation, even helping with really complex scientific research. That would show that it really works, paving the way for eventually integrating it with human consciousness. And along with that, he sees the development of early versions of tech that can store and transfer human consciousness, like the first steps towards digital immortality.
So in just a decade, we could see the beginnings of digital immortality.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, but also a little scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the really long-term stuff? Like, where does he see this going in 15 years?
Well, by the 15-year mark, Boscana thinks we could actually have reliable consciousness synchronization. Humans merging their minds with AI and basically breaking free from all those biological limits. And by then, he believes we'll understand consciousness way better and have figured out the ethics of it all, how to use this tech responsibly. And it's not just about digital immortality either. This is also when he sees us starting to build those arc fleets, those self-guided spacecraft to carry those seeds of life to other star systems.
So in 15 years, we could be sending missions to spread life across the galaxy.
Yeah.
It seems almost impossible with what we have right now.
It's a huge vision, definitely. But Boscana says it might not be as crazy as it sounds. Technology, it changes so fast, right? Things that seem impossible now could be totally normal in a few years. If we focus and work together, we can do incredible things pretty quickly.
Well, this has definitely been a wild ride. We've gone from Earth sustainability to digital immortality to spreading life across the galaxy. It's mind-blowing. What about you, though? What really stands out to you from all of this?
For me is how much Boscana believes in humanity. Even with all these huge problems, he sees a way forward, a way for us to not just survive, but to really thrive and grow beyond anything we can imagine right now. His vision may not come true exactly as he describes it, but he's pushing us to think bigger, be more ambitious, and work together to create a future that's truly amazing.
Yeah, it's easy to focus on the problems, but Boscana reminds us that we have the power to choose our own future. It's up to us to decide what kind of world we want to build.
And if you're interested in learning more about all of this, check out Boscana's website. He goes into a lot more detail there, and he really wants to hear what everyone thinks.
That's right. This deep dive has been a wild one. It's given us a lot to think about, and I'm sure it's raised a ton of questions for all of you listening out there. So thanks for joining us on this journey as we explored Eddie Boscana's incredible vision for the future of humanity. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.